Have you ever felt like you've been told that there is a process for everything? How to manifest, how to grow, how to heal, and it still feels like that you're just chasing this promise instead of just being? What if the thing you've been trying to become, you already are? Today's episode was completely unplanned. We met in my kitchen, we hit record, and what unfolded was a real conversation about identity, self concept, and the deeper, quieter idea that you don't have to earn your worth or do 1,000 spiritual things to be who you already are. I'm Kelly, and with me today is Courtney Stephenson. She is a content creator and a self concept mentor who helps people let go of conditions, return to basics, and live life from a place of inner authority rather than perfectionism. You can find more of her work at the link in the description. But this is That Spiritual Girl Next Door, a place for deep conversations that help you rethink what is possible by expanding your mind while keeping your feet on the ground. All right, let's get to it. Hello.
Hi.
Courtney Stephenson is in my kitchen, y'all. This is pretty
Yay.
cool.
This is so surreal. We're just talking about how weird it is that you meet people online, but they're in your town and then you meet it in person.
Yeah,
It's fun though.
it is fun.
I manifested that, I feel like, because I said I wanted to meet more people in Savannah who have the same mindset as me.
And we got to hang out more. So what do we do to hang out? We're going to film a podcast. That's pretty cool.
Exactly.
And we're going to figure out where to look, but you're here with us as the work in progress. It's
I'm
going
going
to
to look here. I'm going to look at you.
Yeah.
I'm going to
We're just look everywhere. It'll be good. So what is lighting you up right now? What are you most excited to talk about?
Honestly, that's a good question. And that's something I've been asking myself for a while now, because my content has changed and kind of evolved
Mm-hmm.
over time. And it's weird because it's kind of come full circle as well, where I went through all these rules and conditions and all of these things I was putting on myself, I
Mm-hmm.
realized. And now I feel like I've come back to basics, if that makes any sense. So when I first started my own podcast and social media journey
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, it was just like, you are everything. Everything is you. Everything's coming from you, right? Um, and you're the god of your reality, essentially. And then I went on this journey of well, you got to regulate your nervous system. You got
Mm-hmm.
to do this and you got to do that. And yes, those things are helpful, but I realized I was putting conditions on myself.
Right.
And so now I'm just back to basics of the I am. And so that's kind of what's been lighting me up lately, is just really simplifying it back down again and just remembering everything is just what you say it is. And it doesn't have to be this long, complicated rabbit hole of a journey, even though
Mm-hmm.
that stuff is fun.
Yeah.
It's fun and it's there for a reason for us to have
Mm-hmm.
experiences. But at the same time,
So what kind of rules were you putting on yourself? Like, ooh, like the
oh
word
my
police,
gosh.
like you wouldn't be, oh, I shouldn't say that, or
Or I think a lot of it was doing.
mm,
I've gotta do something to have something, or I gotta become something, and I
uh,
gotta go on this, long journey, and then also, I gotta regulate my nervous system in order to be good enough to have what I want. No, you don't. You
mm,
just claim that you have what you want because you are the great I am. You are
yeah.
the end all be all in your life, and so, nobody's keeping you from any of that. So, does that make any
No, it does.
sense?
That's a cool perspective that to manifest, you don't have to fully embody that person that you want to be and sit there and meditate on it and envision it and feel the emotions. And it's not that complicated. So you're
Right, and you can do that, and there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
If you wanna do that, that's fine, but that's just one option, and what I realized is I don't have to do all that. I don't have to become anything
Mm-hmm.
because I already am
I am.
everything,
Okay.
and so when you remember that you already are everything in consciousness, it's what do I have to do other than be I am that now
Okay.
already? I don't gotta become it because 'cause I've always been it. What am I doing? There's nothing to do.
Yeah.
You're just
It's
selecting.
almost a shift in
Yeah,
a choice of
and we're always manifesting, so
Mhm.
you don't have to do anything. I mean, think about, we were talking about this earlier, things that we know for a fact we manifest in our life before we even knew
Yeah.
about any of this, and
Yeah.
so the way I look at it now is I don't have to have a regulated nervous system to get to have what I want or to be what I want to be. Not that that doesn't help.
Right. But you also get to be human.
Right.
You
And you
can
can have feelings, but at the
Mhm.
end of the day, the decisions that you're making and who you say you are, that's all
Yeah,
you need.
because I can be a person that has feelings and
Yes,
gets over it
even that's a
and is not a
condition.
victim. Okay, yeah.
You're not conditioned by anything.
Mhm.
I At the end of the day, no matter what mood I'm in, I know that I am love itself. I
Ah,
know that I'm already wealthy. I know that I'm already everything I've ever wanted to be. And no mood or feeling or circumstance could shake
hate that. Okay.
that.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
That's the realization that I came to after being like putting all these rules and conditions on myself. And then one day I was just like, no, I don't got to do all that. I
Mhm.
am who I say I am. Right.
Yeah. I love that. So, and that kind of is a good segue to what I've been down the rabbit hole of like human potential.
Mm,
And so we were just talking about my latest episode about mind sight and how you can see without your eyes. And it's the same thing you're saying, because if I believe I can see without my eyes, then you can. That's how it works.
yep.
My kids can see, they sit there with the mask on. Juliet can read with it. I
Yeah.
mean, and
That's cool.
it is, and then there's part of me that's, like, looking in there and, like, where is she looking through the little foam? And no, because once you do that, then you don't see. But if you believe and know that you are, and then if you wanna go down the science rabbit hole of, like, there's derma, ocular, or something, basically, there's science that says you can see with your skin and your other senses. Like, there's a whole but if you believe it, then you can achieve it as cheesy as the
Absolutely.
'80s poster in the
Oh my God. No, it was seriously
Mm.
because I really have leaned into the idea of limitlessness
Mhm.
lately, that really we are not limited or conditioned by anything. And whatever you can come up with, you can have, you can be, you can do, you can experience. Like no limits, no
Mhm.
rules, no conditions, literally. And that is crazy, but
Yeah,
there it
it
is
could
right
go
there.
to that, or I mean, there's a whole nother rabbit hole that I've been going down with telekinesis, and there's people practicing on TikTok and stuff where you can spin the paper, and then of course there's comments that are like, "Oh, it's the wind of your hands moving," and so if you want to be that person that thinks that, okay,
That's their
yeah,
perspective, but then the other person's perspective is also
that
accurate.
they're using their energy and people are putting pencils on walls and telling it to stick.
Yep.
And that I've been practicing, and I haven't been able to do it yet, but there's no magnets, or there, at least the specific people I've been watching that I've met in person, and they're not selling their wares and they don't
Yeah.
feel like snake oil, like they're doing it. So
Yeah.
I want to do it too. And I'm just going to decide. So
Oh my God. Like as soon as you decided, you're going to do it.
I'm going to do it.
You're going to do
And
it.
it's fun. And so my kid's watching this Thunderman TV show. I don't know if your kids like the Thundermans.
No, what is that?
It's a superhero family. And so
Okay.
she's like, I want to learn telekinesis. And I'm like, well, you can. She's like, no, what? And I'm like, no, you can. So we're
Yep.
going to go down
I
that
mean, we
next.
already know telepathy is
Yeah.
a thing. So like all of them are a thing. If
Mm-hmm.
you believe that they are, then they are. I mean, that goes for everything. And I want to ask you this because this is something I've been dealing with lately. I know who I am. I
Mm-hmm.
know that I'm the power. I know my thoughts, my words are pushed out into the world and reflected back to me. I know that. I've seen it. I've proven it to myself a million times. But still, as a human,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
do you ever catch yourself being like, even though I know this, I teach this, I work
Mm-hmm.
with people on this. However, and I found when there's like an emotional element involved, sometimes I
Oh, yeah.
find it harder to separate myself from those two things and like really allowing that truth to move through me because I've caught myself a lot recently
Mm-hmm.
being like, why am I telling this story?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this. I don't want this. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want this person to show up this way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I can't help myself.
And then do you shame yourself for thinking that way? That's
Sometimes.
so that's where
Sometimes.
so I might be like, "Oh, why are you doing this again? You've come so far." And then when I'm like, "Oh," there's that little piece of my brain that says, "But you really haven't because this is that look, really you're not that far from where you used to be." And then that shame spiral happens. So for me,
I
this
hear
is
you.
something new that I've learned. Thank you. Shout out to Jonathan Ashford who's been on my podcast. That is just an opportunity to love yourself.
Oh, that's so good. And like radical
Yeah.
self-acceptance.
So
I
you're
try
like,
to
hey,
remember that.
that happens and you've had that thought and like, no, you have come so far and you know what you know now that you didn't. And if you're starting to feel that shame or like, I know better than this. No, you're just supposed to love that human side of you and be like,
Yep.
just like you would your kid. You're not going to be like, ew, which one of your children's name, like, you should know better. What are you don't talk to your kids like that. You'd be
Right.
like, honey, hey, remember next time, this is the new rule. This is what we do. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, okay, thanks, mom. I'll remember next time. And so you're just gonna tell you, it's
And
just,
it's not even like you're not trying to get anywhere. It's not like we talked about like a hierarchy where like
yeah,
I'm so much further
no,
ahead than I used to be. You just are where you are. It's just awareness.
mm-hmm,
That's all. And one thing I've found too is the deeper I remember that all we are is awareness and that we are the creator, right?
right,
The more I am aware of all of the things that I am, which is also all of these feelings and
it's a lot,
emotions
but
and
yeah,
all of these like things that I don't actually
mm-hmm,
prefer,
yeah,
I'm even more aware of that. But it's the judgment that we put on it. You
mm-hmm,
know what I mean? But
mm-hmm.
really, there is no judgment.
Right. To me,
It's
I
us
think
doing
that's
that.
like 101, and that I have to keep coming back to it is
Yeah.
the no judgment on myself. And when I did improv classes, they always said like, okay, this is so cool because you're not going to judge your classmates. You're going to get to know each other and you're going to have fun and people are going to be silly and say silly things.
Yep.
And you're not going to be like, oh, that was stupid. You're just going to be cheering them on and supportive. So
Yep.
the less you judge them, then the less you judge yourself. And then whole practice becomes a practice of self-love.
Yep.
So to me, and so Jonathan, the same guy that talked about it's just an opportunity to love yourself. He talked about an exercise. He goes, you can roll your eyes because I know it sounds silly, but just go in front of a mirror and tell yourself that you love you in the eyes.
Yep.
You probably do
I
stuff
do
like
that all the
this.
time. And that changed my
I love
life.
you. I love you. And how many times? I think he said like 30 something. He's like, good luck because it's hard to
That
do.
literally changed my life,
Mm,
and when I first started doing it, it did feel so uncomfortable. I was like, "Oh, this is weird and it feels uncomfortable." But then I gave myself a goal, like, I'm going to speak to myself this
mm-hmm.
way, and I'm gonna say these things to myself, and I'm gonna look myself in the eye in the mirror every day for 30 days,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna see what happens. And I kid you not, it changed my whole freaking life. And it wasn't at the end of the 30 days, it wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It felt really freaking good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, I really do love myself.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I would say is, I unconditionally love and accept myself.
Mm,
Um, and nothing I've ever done, could ever do, will ever do would make me not love me.
that's
You,
big.
me, it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
All the same one, right? You, me, it's all the same. But still, that changed my life.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, the more you love yourself, do you feel like you love the people you actually do love even deeper?
Yes.
And who doesn't want more love in their life? So,
Yeah. And I love what you said about judgment because I feel like that works both ways because also the less you judge them, the less you're going to judge yourself, but
yeah.
also the less you judge yourself, the less they're going to judge you
Yeah.
because everything's a mirror. It's like all
We
infinity.
talked about, and this always happens, right? You hit record after you have these good epiphanies, but
Mhm.
how with our husbands and what we like to talk about. And I used to think, oh, Josh is going to judge like these topics or what I'm
Mhm.
talking about.
Been there.
Maybe he kind of just thought, okay, that's your thing. But he was never judging me so the other day I made some comment, I'm like, it might not be your thing. He's like, what? Because I've never been open-minded with your stuff. And I'm like, you're right. Like I have created this story that you care in a way that you don't. And it was ultimately because I was afraid of what I was doing, of like that somebody else would judge me. And
Yeah.
then once I let that go, which I have, and it's taken a year of doing this
Yeah.
to like be loud, proud. And
Yeah.
now really, I haven't had maybe a few strangers on the internet, but whatever.
You know what though? When I get comments that are like troll like or
Mhm.
whatever, I'm like, "Thank you for the engagement. Oh my god." Like, and I try not to take it personally, but that was a journey for me too,
Mhm.
like the fear of being seen or the fear of being judged, and it's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care because I don't know you and you don't know me and you don't tell me who I am.
Mhm.
But at the same time,
Well,
who
there's this
cares?
need for me to, like, explain, like, "Wait, wait, you don't understand. That's not what I'm trying to say," or, "That wasn't my intention," when letting go of that is
Oh,
freeing.
yes. And that's a self-validating thing where it's like, I don't need to jump in and explain myself, because I understand me and I support me and
Mhm.
I know what I meant and I'm not here to convince anyone else. Who would I be convincing if everything is me? I'm only convincing myself, so I don't need to do that. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
But I've been the same way as what you were talking about, where I had a fear years ago when I kind of woke up to a lot of the concepts that we're talking about. I thought that people, and I didn't know any better then, I didn't know that everything was reflecting me. But I had this fear of judgment that people would think it was weird or they would shun me or whatever,
Mhm.
and they kind of did. So like I
Okay.
created that, right?
Yeah.
But now it's a different story because I changed that
Mhm.
perspective in my mind, and I started telling myself, I'm choosing a different story or perspective with it, and we're always doing this. We're always doubling down on something in
Mm.
our mind, and so I decided, no, like, everyone is unconditionally supportive of me because I am unconditionally supportive of me,
Mm.
and, now that is the case, especially the people in my life who, really know me and
Yeah.
I love and who are my friends, the same people who showed up kinda judging and shunning before, because that was my story,
Mhm.
now are the ones who are
And the
unconditionally
same people.
supportive.
Yeah.
It's the same people because I changed that internal
It's so true.
perspective.
And just having when it happens in your life, the before and when you see it for yourself, then you're like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Because there's been times when I heard these concepts for the first time, but I'm like, "Wait, how does that work?" And then my brain's trying to come up with ways to prove it wrong. And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, what? Why?"
You have to be willing to take radical accountability,
Yeah.
right? To look back on your journey and be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that was coming from me because I was perceiving myself that way." And me personally, I used to see myself as a victim.
Mhm.
And so, of course, my circumstances and other people had to prove me right
Yeah.
because that's who I believed I was at that
I mean,
time.
at minimum, like when people say they're having a bad day, that's just one example. Like, if you're
Yeah.
one of those people that are like, "I'm just having a bad day." Well, watch it. It's about to get worse.
I know, right?
So, I mean, you can't
Like,
I
you
was one of
said
those
it.
people that are
Yeah,
like, "Oh,
me
I'm
too.
late for work. This meeting didn't go well. I forgot this email," whatever. Then I'm like, "It's just a bad day." Well, then when you get home, it's gonna get worse. So, but when you
Yeah.
literally not
But you
erase,
didn't
erase,
know
I
how it
didn't know.
works. Like, I
Mhm,
tell my clients this all the time. They're
mhm.
like, "But what about this and what about that?" And I'm like, "Look, you can't blame, shame, or judge yourself for
No,
what you didn't know
that's the
when you
hard
didn't
part.
know it.
Mhm,
And now that you know, you can turn it all around.
mhm.
And like every moment is a new moment. It doesn't matter what story you were telling 5 minutes ago. Whatever you're declaring right now is what it
Yeah,
is.
let me
You
just
know?
say it's a good day.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
erase, erase, yeah.
No, it does.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, seriously, I've tested that as well,
Mhm.
where, and not too long ago, not to go into like too many personal details, but like I was in an argument with someone
Yeah.
and I went off by myself and I was like, you know what? No, this is stupid. It's this, and this, and it's whatever, and it's fine. And literally, like 5 minutes later, that person's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Can we just be, it's just fine. And I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Cause I just said that.
Yep.
Right? Everything is what you say it is, but, that takes some reflection and accountability in itself, especially when you've been seeing or experiencing a bunch of stuff that you don't actually
Well, there are
prefer.
certain people too, and just how you've been conditioned in your life and who maybe your parents were
Yeah.
that think that, for instance, like, um, everyone needs to respect me. Like, that's
Right.
to me, that's a really good limiting belief that I think a lot of people might have, even if it's unconscious. If you're a parent, you think your kids need to have like unconditional respect.
Right.
Or
But
if
why are you
people,
perceiving yourself as,
yeah,
to me, that's kind of like an
mm-hmm.
oxymoron, knowing that everything's coming from you. Life's not happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's doing anything to you. Why would you need that unless you felt like you were a victim who was
Didn't respect
disrespected
yourself. Yes.
and who doesn't respect
Yeah.
themselves? And so that's like that. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's
No,
like
you're good.
seeking
Yeah.
external
Validation. Mm-hmm.
validation to prove
I've just been in a
yourself
scenario with
right.
this recently where I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Nobody's disrespect. You're just perceiving it also as disrespect when
Yeah,
that's just people communicating or whatever.
exactly.
It's interesting how it is all what you make it. So even when my kids are fighting, we call it the reset button.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, does anybody, let me, and my husband's big on this whole questions first thing right now, if you are familiar with marketing, but I'm like, I think, can we all agree that we want to get along and have a happy house? And everybody will be like, yes. I'm like, okay, well, let's hit the reset button. Basically means a clean slate. And then
Yeah.
nothing a Space Jam dance party
Like
can't sit,
start
can't
over.
solve.
Oh, I love that. Stop, cancel, clear. Who says
Oh,
that?
that's a good
But
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. And truly, it is what you
Because if you
say
want to
it
be like,
is.
no reset button. She disrespected me. She said that. No, just
Oh my God.
stop.
And you know what? Still, the human moments,
Hmm.
because even though we know these things, it you can still kind of get sucked in to like
Oh, yeah.
victimizing yourself sometimes, especially when it comes to other people and how they're showing up. Like that's been a thing for me lately.
Mhm,
And I've had to be like, whoa, Courtney, like you are not a victim to however this person's showing up. And you need to
mhm,
stop telling this story because, and I caught myself, my husband and I both like, why do we keep saying this?
mhm.
And it's getting worse and worse because we keep saying it and we keep telling this story. And it's like, all right, at some point you got to wake yourself back up and be
Right.
like, this is happening because you keep saying this, right? And there's the proof right there,
It's
which is
really good
funny.
when you can catch each other as spouses too, when it's like,
Yeah.
so it could be like, well, I bet they think this, or I bet, you're like, you don't know what they think. So quit telling them what they think so that they will think it. Like,
Because
that
you're
assuming,
dictating that to
Mhm.
them, right? And it's truly
Even
what you
if
say
it's
it
like
is.
they're obviously not here, it's throwing it out too. So that's wild because it all works.
I mean, it's all one consciousness, right? So like they're always picking up what you're putting out and they got to reflect it back to you because that's how it works. Like everything is one thing. It's all one mind. And so, I try when your mind starts to be like, "Oh my god, did I embarrass myself? Did I say
Um,
something to offend someone? Did I do something stupid?"
yeah, I do that stuff.
Oh my god, like, yeah,
Yeah.
so when those thoughts come up for me now, I'm like, "No,
Hmm.
I don't care what I said. It just made them love me even more."
There you go.
And
Oh,
I'm
I like
telling
that.
you, like, and then that's what it ends up being. People will
Hmm.
say, "Oh, like, I don't even remember what you said. I just know that I loved you,"
That is
or whatever. I'm
such a
like,
good point
"Okay."
because, there we were talking, I forget, I'm not going to come up with the right people, but you know how like Shaq can say something on the news that like somebody else couldn't. You're like, oh, that's just how he is. He just says the funniest things because he probably self affirms in that way where he's like, I said what I said.
I know,
You
right?
gotta love me for what I
And that's like him not judging himself.
am.
Therefore,
There are certain
nobody's
people
gonna
in
be like,
everybody's life that you're like that they just get away with more.
"Yeah, yeah,
And in a sense, because they're like, well, that's just how they are. And I get tired of that sometimes. But then also, I want to get away with I don't
right."
want to be hateful. And my heart is always in the right
No,
place, right?
that's so
Mhm.
this is my script, so take it.
Okay.
So anytime your mind starts to be like, "What did I say? What did I do?"
Hmm.
Doesn't matter.
They
They love
love
me
me
even more for
more. They
that.
love me even more.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So talking about being us pushed out and we are everything. Does this ever happen to you? So synchronicity is one in general, right? But lately, things like on my phone, I'll be writing a text or something, and on the TV, they say word for word sometimes
Uh-huh.
what I am typing out.
Oh, yeah.
Or in a song lyric will say, I mean, just so much lately. And I don't know if it's this mindset practice because that's something I've been trying to connect. It could be because I'm connecting more to who I am.
Mhm.
And I'm at Huckapoo's. I was worried about something that was happening, and then
Oh
I
god, I love
turn.
Huckapoos though, by the way.
We should go
We
do that.
should go.
Then I pull the napkin thing out and pull, and it just says, "Everything will be okay," on a sticker on the napkin thing, and
I'm
I'm
not
like,
surprised.
and you're just feel so loved and so comforted and held by the universe and
Mhm.
God and angels and all of it.
Yep.
And anyway, it's been constant lately.
I love when stuff like that
Mhm.
happens. Okay, I can't tell you how many times I have had someone literally parrot back what was in my mind word for word. It happens
All the time.
all the time, or the TV,
Mhm.
or social media, or whatever. But that is truly what the first time that ever happened. That's what really cemented that you're the only thinker. Everything is one thing. It's one universal mind. Um, that really like drove
We
that
were like
home
in
for
a
me.
movie where now the
Yeah.
soundtrack is literally playing
Yeah.
what's happening in
It's
my
like
life.
those movies that you see where there's like the narrator and the main character. Like that's literally what you are. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
And so many times I've been like blah 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 in my mind, and then here comes a person and they're like blah 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 blah, and it's exactly what I was thinking, and I'm like,
Yeah. Okay.
there it is. I mean, that's
Sometimes I don't know how to take
telepathy
it.
right there.
Yeah, telepathy. And then other times I just think, okay, I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm being held. Hopefully, our magic audio will. If you hear it happens to be yard day next door. Um, yeah, it's crazy. I love it, and I'm like, yes,
And
thank you more,
truly,
please.
the stories you're telling, and it doesn't matter what it's been before,
Yeah.
you could turn it all around right now. Like
Mm.
I am the queen of the 180.
Okay.
Like years ago, I like caught myself like I've been telling this story about this person.
Uh
I've
huh.
been telling this story about this person because if you think about it, we perceive the world as ourselves and through the lens of who you believe you are and the way you conceptualize yourself
Yep.
and the world as you push out. And so when I started realizing that these stories came from the identity that I had been in at that
Mm-hmm.
time, which I am no longer that person and I see things differently. I would never tell that story about myself. Therefore, people aren't going to show up for
For
me
me,
like that anymore. But like, you know, how we're conditioned to think a certain way and to focus on what we don't like and what we don't want and to think that we're powerless or victims or whatever.
mm-hmm.
And so automatically those stories from that identity in regards to other people are going to be very different than someone who knows who they are, right, and knows what's happening. And so, you know, the 180 though of how people show up for you and the world at large,
The
you know
world
what I
at
mean?
large. So we all
Right.
have the power
Yeah, exactly. And
to
once
change
again, it
the
doesn't
world.
matter what it's been in the past. Right now is a brand new moment and it's whenever you say it is.
Well, I mean, if you go on any of the stuff the collective right now, it's supposed to be chaos. It's
No,
chaos and it's supposed to be right now so we can rebuild the system.
no,
And maybe that's, that I don't know,
I
but
don't choose
so
that.
that's a choice
Yeah.
maybe, right? And we don't want to have to get too deep because everybody's got different opinions on that in terms of I like to bury my head in the sand a bit and live in my neighborhood and in my world
Me
and
too.
in my family. And current events can be a lot to change
Yeah.
that power. And I don't know if that's by design. It just seems like the system is in place to keep us distracted
I
from our power.
think and the way you're yes,
Mhm.
and the way I see that though is it's still you. So it's like you set this up to wake yourself back up to I'm actually not powerless,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
People talk about the matrix, which like the
mhm,
matrix is you and all these programs and limitations and the fear and the whatever is still you and it was put in place by you at a consciousness level um to remind you who you are. That's how I look at it, right?
mhm,
Because
mhm.
without the mirror, without the reflection, and sometimes without the contrast, we wouldn't ask these questions and we wouldn't be reminded, I
It's,
guess, if that makes
I was going
sense.
to say it's like remembering. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Reminded of it because it's the age old question. Well, why do we forget? Why?
Right.
And I guess it's just to continue to have these experiences that reinforce
Yeah.
that power.
That's what I think too.
What do you think? Okay, this is getting a little bit woo woo, but what do you think our higher selves and like if we're a fractal? like we talked about when we did our first interview, like we're like plugged into the matrix, like who we really are. Like, I wonder what is that can get into past lives that are actually concurrent lives. Like,
Mhm.
I don't
It's all
know.
right now.
If it's all right now, how am I tuned in right now? Am I also tuned in at other places, but time is not what we think it is, so I'm actually not experiencing that in this. I don't know.
I always think about the disco ball
Oh,
analogy
okay.
where everything is one thing. So consciousness is one thing. So it's the disco ball, but it has infinite fractals that
Mhm.
are all still part of the same thing.
Mhm.
But each face of the disco ball is having its own experience with its own perspective.
Oh,
So,
so
but
maybe
it
we are the disco ball on a disco ball. Like,
perhaps
perhaps all our lives are the different fractals having its own experience on one disco ball, and
yeah,
then we're actually that ball on another disco ball while everybody else is doing the same thing, and it's just infinity.
maybe. And I don't think in this body, in this
Yeah, that we
experience,
can
we
even
have the
right.
capacity, and maybe that's a limiting belief in itself, but to really truly conceptualize what consciousness is. Because think about it, if you're, and I don't mean God in a religious sense, I
Yeah,
mean God in a consciousness sense,
like a
right? Which
creator.
is awareness.
Mhm.
Um, God is omnipresent, it's omni everything. So, like, it is everywhere all at once,
Mhm.
but you're having your
Okay.
perspective in this moment,
Mhm.
and I'm having my perspective in this moment. And so I don't know if this makes any sense, but like the infinite right now, our experience is in a linear fashion as a human,
Right.
but from like God consciousness perspective, it is infinite. Like it goes on and on. But to have this experience through our five senses,
Mhm.
we experience this moment in a linear way
Because there's just no other
that
way.
feels like time is
Yeah.
passing, but really no time has passed.
Ooh.
It's just your perspective changing in each moment. Does that make sense?
So how do I bust my limiting belief that I don't have enough time for everything I want to do? 'Cause
Okay, I got you
yeah.
because I used to say that.
Okay.
I just stopped telling that story.
Yeah. I try, but
I
then I'm running out of time. Crap. The day passed and I had 2 more things I needed to get done.
so I would recommend to you to just double down on anytime your mind wants
Mhm.
to go, I'm running out of time. I'm focused on time. Like even on the way to school in the morning, if I'm
Mhm.
running late, I'm like, I'm the controller of
Yeah.
time. Time doesn't control me. And I've actually
That's me
this is
too.
gonna sound out there,
I've been
not
it
to me,
before. Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
have experienced slowing time down and
Mhm.
speeding time up before because time, it
I
really
agree.
doesn't exist. It's all right now. It's not linear. And so, like, I went on a road trip to, I think, Arkansas one time. And it
Mm.
was like a 6 or 7 hour drive. And I was like, you know what? This is going to be like the fastest trip ever. Like, no time has passed. And I'm telling you, it was. It
That's
felt like no time had passed. But then in the morning when we're on the way to school and we're late, I'm
uh-huh.
like, no, I am the controller of
Mm.
time and we will get there at this time and we
We
do.
do. Yeah.
Right. So I don't think people ask me all the time, like, how do you like embody or how do you be?
Mhm.
And I feel like that gets confusing. But to me, all embodiment or being is to know that your awareness is the creator.
Mm.
And so, like, whatever perspective you're choosing in this moment, that's being. So, when I say I am this, or this is what's happening, or I have this, or this is what's going on,
Yeah.
that's being it. It's
Right.
just choosing a perspective because you know who you are.
Well, to me, once you choose the perspective and you just embody it in that way, and then you continue to prove to yourself over and over that you are the creator and that
Yeah.
you can do these things, that is when it gets easier. And that regulates my nervous system
Yep.
because I would be late for school. My heart would be beating fast. I could
Yep.
feel I'd be like, oh, coffee just gives me the jitters. Well, not really.
That's one realization that I had just this week, and then a former client of mine who's become a friend,
Yeah.
sent me a video saying that exact thing.
Mm.
So once again, the only
I,
thinker.
yeah.
I'm like, I'm sitting down in my kitchen, and I'm like, food has no meaning. It
Ah,
literally has no meaning, and it doesn't matter what you eat. It's not doing anything to you unless you buy
I
into
have a
that.
friend, yeah, that she
All
believe
these
yeah,
all
that
these conditions, right? All
she'll
these
be like, "I just
stories
don't
we
believe
tell.
this is unhealthy for me. I think it's doing great." Like, she'll yeah, and she
Right, so if you're the creator in
mhm,
one capacity, then you're the creator in every capacity,
yeah.
and I remind myself of that, so, like, this is food is what I say it is, just like everything
So that
else.
one's a stretch for me because I have a lot of like I get, that I'm not there yet with food, but I can see that that would be coming and I can get there. But I'll be the first to admit there's certain things that I'm like, no, this is just how it is.
Yep,
Like, of
I
course
hear
I need
you.
to eat the vegetables because that's what's good for me. And it came from the sun. It was grown by the sun.
That was another rabbit hole that I went down,
Yeah.
in 2024 actually was, like, the health thing and the food thing, and I've come around to a lot of I won't say I'm fully there yet
Mm-hmm.
either, but I do feel like I'm not as limited in my perspective in regards to that particular topic as I was 2 years
Yeah.
ago.
Because I'm just thinking about my girls, man. Wouldn't it be great just to to teach them to not give food the power?
Oh my god, and think about kids.
Yeah.
They're healthy in generally
Right.
speaking,
Yeah.
um, regardless, because they don't have all these limiting
And
beliefs.
my limiting belief is because they need to stay active and you've got to keep moving and then you've got a faster metabolism. Like you can create these
Oh my
reasons.
god, yes. It's just the stories
Yeah.
that you tell, and a lot of times and I have looked back on my experience that a lot of it's just regurgitated from all this stuff
Oh,
we've
yeah.
heard from society, from our parents, and from other people, and from whatever.
Mhm.
And then it's like, but all of it's subjective. Like, I look back on, like, where did this come from? Why do I say this? Why am I telling this story? It's just a story I've been telling for years. And why?
Right.
Because someone else said that to me. And, like, if you think about it, a lot of times I have just convinced myself of things with no proof or evidence. And then but it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yeah.
I went down the rabbit hole of narcissism too, not long like,
Oh.
years ago, and I was just seeing all this stuff online about narcissism, and I'm like, "What is that?" And then I went down the rabbit hole of, like, attachment styles and all this stuff, and I'm like then I started being like, "Maybe this is a thing." I
Hmm.
nobody you know what I
You just,
mean?
the
And then people
algorithm
started showing up
convinced
that
you.
way,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, you just
Yeah.
start convincing yourself of stuff, so you gotta be careful, like, what am I putting my awareness on? What am I buying into? What am I focusing on? Because I'm going to get more of that. I'm going to see it more and more, and then I'm going to prove it to myself, and then I'm going to think it's real. And so it's like this whole
Yeah,
thing that
again, I just keep going back to my kids and trying to like teach them the right thing, and then I'm just creating stories. And so
no, I mean, we
I
all do
also
it.
talk to them though about agency and what
Yeah,
feels right for them, and don't even let me sometimes tell you like give
exactly.
me what I say isn't always this is going to be controversial. What I say isn't always the end all be all as the mom, and it's
No, I
not that
tell
I'm
my kids
saying it's
that
up
too.
for
It's like, what do
debate.
you
Yeah,
want it to be?
but
What
you tell me if you tell me what you want because it has valid like gosh, my youngest is the queen of she's could be a lawyer. I mean, like the arguments she comes up with, I'm like, well, I guess you're
Yeah,
kind of right. I mean, that makes sense for me. Or she will literally say, "Well, you're not in my body." It's like you don't know, and I'm like, okay, I can't disagree
fair
with that.
enough. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's crazy to just get out there and start talking to your kids about stuff that you might not think they're ready for because I mean, talking about getting back to the crazy matrix and what is our higher selves and kind of like we're laying in bed last night. She's like, what if I am part of somebody else out there? And then she was coming up with this whole like we were talking about kind of fractals and
Mhm.
she goes, well, I don't want to be somebody else. And I'm thinking, wow, it takes you a long time to be able to give up the idea of identity as we know it,
Yeah.
to not be scared that maybe I am a fractal. So I had to kind of backpedal in a way, again, just talking about her agency and her sovereignty, and you are you, and no one else is you, Conley Carol Smith, that
Right.
like is that
This
person.
is the character that you're playing
Yes.
in this experience you're having,
But
but
that's
on a
freaky for a
consciousness
10-year-old, like, when they can't really wrap their head.
well, yeah.
So it's hard it's interesting, though, because I'm like, it's not scary, but
Right.
it's a little drip of info, I guess, in a way to, like,
But
still
the
feel the
higher
path.
self thing, like, I used to think of even that in a different way than I do now.
Mhm.
I used to like make that separate from me.
Yeah.
Courtney, this, where I am now, I used to make that separate from me, like it was still something outside of me or something that I'm not.
Oh, right.
But really, your higher self is just you, and you already are everything, and there's nothing to do, there's nothing to get. All we're ever doing is shifting our awareness to hold a perspective of, I already have the perfect self concept. I already am
Mm.
enough and perfect in every way because I am everything. So like my higher self is me, I am it.
Does that
So
trigger
it's like,
people like that when you speak that?
probably I don't, I mean, but
I
it's
find it so,
being
like,
a human.
empowering to me, and then I'm like, I wonder if other women are like, ugh,
Well, I
which
mean,
would be that's
that's
their own
something.
thing, right? But I
Right.
thought that that's so fascinating because it's just what you're saying in practice. Like,
Yeah, and but that's something that I've had to release is
yeah.
like the fear of judgment or being
And you
misunderstood
don't
or
see
being
it
seen.
because you've released it. So that's your case in point.
Well, I mean, I might still see it, but I'm not taking that against it. It's not making me doubt
Yeah.
myself the way
Yeah.
that it
Okay.
maybe once did before. And I'm not going to take it as personally as
Mhm.
I maybe would have in the past. But I also think it's just like, once again, every day reminding yourself, I am not this character that I'm playing. I'm the awareness behind her.
Mhm.
And I'm God playing Courtney, and she's already perfect, and she has the capacity to hold infinite perspectives that already exist, and that's all we're doing. Like, I'm just selecting, um, a point of view, and I have, like, all the options at my disposal, if that makes sense, and so, that goes into I already am who I say I am, and I'm choosing that perspective because, and that's the way I look at desire too. People are
Mhm.
like, we have these strong desires that come on us, like, I want this house, or I wanna be wealthy, or I wanna be with this person, or I wanna be whatever it is, and, the way that I look at that now is even different. Like, when I have a desire come up, that is source telling me, "You already are this,
Yeah.
and now you get to have this experience that you already are in awareness or consciousness. Now you get to have the experience of that with your
Mhm.
5 senses as well."
That's
So
cool.
it's not, once again, the matrix and being human is experiencing separation, but there is no separation. There's no separation between you and anything.
Mhm.
So it's like there's no separation between me and all these infinite perspectives or experiences or even other people. I
Yeah.
know
That's hard.
that's a mind-blowing
Yeah.
one because
Well, also identity gets in the way for people, like, that
yeah,
separation.
but identity is subjective.
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
perspective that
Well,
you've been
in terms
holding.
of, I am a mother, this is my name, this is,
Well, yeah.
and that kind of stuff, or that is something I would never do. Well, that's because you're, you're that, yeah.
Right,
One of my biggest trigger phrases from other people is when they go, that's not my thing. And I'm like, how do you know? You've never tried it. Well, like, especially if they haven't tried it. Like, if
right,
that's something that they don't prefer and they've tried it and that's not their thing and you don't like olives, okay.
right.
But if you've never tried it and you say that's not my thing, I get so like, how do you know?
That sounds like my kids with food. Like, "Oh, I don't like that."
There's so
You've
many
never
adults
even
though.
had it.
Yeah. That will be like, oh, I don't like to, I can't even. But, and you're like, well, maybe that would be fun if you tried it. Who
Right,
knows?
and who and what made you decide that that's not your thing other than you just deciding that?
Yeah. And what a limiting existence in terms of like just on a broad scale. It's not
Yeah.
like whatever that thing is, but if you're doing it with that thing, then whatever that's just a little
Oh
microcosm
my
of other
god.
things you're doing in
All
your
the
life.
ways that as a human you separate yourself from things and you
Mm,
put limitations on yourself that it's always just coming from you. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But
I mean, okay, like a pole dancing class might not be my first thing, but I'm just trying to think of a good example. Well, I'm like,
yeah,
but I've never tried it. Who knows? It could be really
exactly.
fun.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I'm like, discover this new part of who I am. Who knows?
Oh my gosh, yes. And I think a lot of that comes from fear.
Scott's cat, my
People
dog.
people like, "Oh, he's so
And
cute,
he just drank out of
and
his
he's so
water bowl,
sweet."
so he's gonna put his little wet snout all
That's
over.
okay. It's okay.
Lenny, why don't you go lay down? Why don't you go lay down?
He is so sweet.
Well, I'm trying to think what else because I just finished this book. I don't know if you. I'm gonna just get it. Hold on, get in the camera. I put this up here because I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about too, because it's exactly what we. I mean, Dan Brown, who is
Oh,
like
yes.
mainstream with Angels and Demons and Da Vinci Code and all that. This is his new one, and I don't want to give spoilers if anybody's wanting to read it, but it's everything we're talking about, but like meets science, meets Dan Brown in Prague, and how they have this whole like journey to
Okay.
solve this mystery, so to speak. There's some twists, but they go into how consciousness is non-local and how there's science behind it and how the CIA has been studying this since Stargate and remote
Yep.
viewing, and how the whole cover up is, oh, it didn't work, so we shut the program down, when it actually was very successful and they just morphed the program so people didn't think they were still doing it.
Right.
It's fascinating. So if you're into any of this stuff, but you want to read fiction that helps explain it, it was so good.
Okay, I am gonna have to read that because that sounds amazing.
Now, let me recommend that you read it and listen to it if you can, because it's a little,
Okay.
it was, my husband was like, how long have you been reading that book for? That's not like you. And I'm like, well, I'm having to go on walks and listen to get through it a little bit. It was a
Gotcha.
little bit of a trudge, but it's cool because especially if you don't know about some of this stuff that we're talking about, you're like, it gives you it's a good primer. And anyway, my point of this though is that I think mainstream is so different now than
I
it
do
used to
too.
be. Like,
We were
this
talking
is
about this
Dan
before.
Brown's mainstream.
Yeah. We were
And
talking about this before, how, like, all these concepts have become a lot more normalized, and it's not so weird to talk about this. And, like, I hear people in my life, who 5 years ago were like, "What?" And, like, their eyes would cross when I would say certain things, and now I'm hearing them say things, like, along the same lines as what we're talking about, and I'm like, "What?"
I think a thought exercise for people now is acceptable, where let's just go down this path where we're like, what if, what if, what if, as opposed to it has to be like some factual gospel or something that you have to adhere to. Like, my big thing is I am never asking anybody to believe anything.
Right.
Like, again, you have agency in what you want to write your story as, but it's fun to just like, what if to me.
Yeah, exactly. And also everything exists. So
Mm,
like your perspective is your sovereignty and you
yeah.
have all the options. So like whatever you decide, that's right.
Oh,
That's for you. That's your truth and that's right. And there's nothing wrong with that
so
because
speaking of
everything
like,
already exists.
sorry to interrupt you. I just
No,
got excited about this thought. So if you get to choose whatever, there's that whole other philosophy and idea. Like, I don't know if you've seen the movie, and this is back in the day, What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams.
yes.
And they paint their own heaven together, basically. So like, I can't remember how it works in the movie, but the guy who wrote the movie actually did this with his wife. Like,
Oh
there are
wow.
interviews with him,
Okay.
and he and her, but like, I don't know if she's terminal, but they knew she was going to die, so they together like planned out how they were going to meet up and what heaven was going to look like for them. And I forget how theoretically she sent the signs that they've like agreed upon already, or I don't know, just the thought that like heaven could be what you make it. So you might meet Jesus if that's your reality. You might meet Buddha, whatever your reality is and what brings you comfort. Like, my grandmother's going to be there, and my dog, I'm convinced,
Yep.
right? And that's what I want it to be. Um, so just the thought of even that you can pre-design and just have comfort to know it's not scary. You get to make that what you want to. You get to decide that.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I mean, I do think that's the case because it's like your awareness is choosing,
Hmm.
right? And once again, everything exists and you get to choose your experience and your perspective. That's what it's all about. Make it what you want it to be because it is,
Yeah.
you know?
When I was talking to my grandmother about this idea, she's been a Baptist churchgoer, her whole life, and she said, "No, it's gonna be a heaven and it's a place, and Jesus is gonna be there." And I said, "Yes, it
Yep.
will. That's exactly what's gonna happen for you. I
Yep.
have no doubt."
Yep.
Um, so I love it that people are agreeing in different ways without even realize. And it's not about agreeing, but I just mean like it's like in practice, we can see it every day. These
Oh,
things are,
that's the thing though. Like, we're not here to convince anyone
yeah, yeah,
else.
yeah.
Like, your perspective is yours to choose. That's what it's all about. That's all the infinite fractals. That's what we're here to do.
And that
It's a
was
good
what
thing.
talking about regulating your nervous system, like, it
Yeah.
takes a lot for me to get my hackles up on something because I just instead get excited about whatever that choice is for somebody else. I'm not,
Yeah.
like, taken aback or the victim of their story.
Right, exactly. And
Like,
you don't have to, make them
oh, yeah, never
hold
as an
your
argument.
perspective.
No, 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 no. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not here to argue with anybody.
exactly.
Sounds exhausting.
Exactly. And I don't, and I used to
Uh,
online, and now I'm like,
I bet there's not as
I
many
don't
people
argue with people
trying to
anymore.
start the arguments either, maybe.
Well, no,
Mhm,
not as many as there used to be, because I just don't. I'm like, that's fine.
mhm.
That's fine for you.
My gosh.
But talking about, like, a regulated nervous system
Yep.
and identity,
Mhm,
what has helped me so much kind of get out of that, like, rule and condition of, I have to have this in order to be that. No, I'm
mhm,
like, no, like, regardless of how my body feels, not that I don't like to be grounded and it
mhm,
feels good and it helps, I still am who I say I am and nothing could change it, right? Because
mhm.
that's the perspective that I'm holding. So no matter,
Whoever tries to argue with you on the internet, you're not feeling, like,
no.
riled up. Yeah, is your point.
I saw another creator talk about identity the other day, and it really clicked how she worded it. She was saying, when it comes to identity, take like sexual orientation, for
Mhm,
example. You know how you identify.
mhm.
And if someone were to come up on off the street and ask you, how do you identify? And you were to say, like, straight or gay or whatever, trans or
Man
whatever,
or woman, yeah. Or
whatever.
male or female, sorry,
Right,
yeah.
right, like, you know how you identify,
Mhm.
and nobody's gonna tell you that you don't, right? And
Okay.
so, if that person were to say, "No, you're not," you'd laugh in their face, and you'd be like, "Yes, I am."
And that's how
Um,
you can be with
it's the same with everything.
mm.
Nobody gets to tell you who you are, you get to decide for yourself,
Gosh,
and
I have somebody with so much time. I have so much time.
yes, you are. Yes,
I
you
have
are. You are
time
the
for it all.
controller of time. It does not control you,
Mhm.
and it's all right now. And another thing that I remind myself too is, like, if I'm okay right now, then I'm always okay because it's always right now.
Yeah, I like how you put that fun, it's fun. But
Yeah.
I'll tell the kids that sometimes that they're, like, worried about things. I'm like, "Hang on. Is everything okay right now?"
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
apparently at recess, the kids had gotten out of line and, they're gonna have to walk at recess today in a line
Oh, no.
for a little while, and Juliet's like, "It's not my fault," or she's like, "But we all were sort of," and I'm sure the poor teacher's just trying to get back in the swing of things from the holidays,
Yeah,
and I said, "Hang on. Don't get upset about what you have to do. It hadn't even happened yet. What if
exactly.
she was kind of bluffing so that you have this reaction where you don't get out of line?" I was like, "Don't be upset about it until in that moment things are not okay. You might be in line with your best friend and have a blast talking, like, who."
Exactly. It's
Nobody
all
judged my kid's school. I promise it's
it's
wonderful.
all, like, how you're viewing
Yeah.
things, right? Like, oh my god, I tell my clients this all the time, the circumstance, and this is where circumstances don't matter thing comes in.
Mhm,
Circumstances don't technically exist and they don't mean anything. We're the giver of the meaning. So, like, two people can have the exact same circumstance and the circumstance itself is the same. It's neutral, it's meaningless,
mm,
but this person's going to give it a rose colored glasses perspective that this is working to my advantage. And that's the outcome that they're going to get. And then this other person's going to give it a woe is me attitude or
mhm.
whatever. And that's the outcome that they're going to get. But the circumstance itself was the same. So truly,
'Cause I mean,
it's whatever you say it is. I
there's
just saw a
people
dog
yeah.
running out there.
That's our next door neighbor, so she's good. But I feel like that is an argument people probably use is like, "Wow, it's easy for you to say all these things when, you're privileged to be able to have this perspective, and there's so many people that, are not are not in that position, in that privileged position." But if your circumstance I mean, it's a tricky conversation, the victim mentality about for people who
Right.
have been victims. I mean
Absolutely. And speaking as a former world's biggest victim, right?
mm,
No reason really to be a victim, but that was my mentality. It really is just a perspective shift. Like, hey, maybe I'm going to give this a different meaning and I'm going to see something in a different way. And that in itself is just a practice and a decision, and it kind of trains your mind to think in a different way. But, in my personal experience, had to be ready for that because for a long time I was 10 toes down on being a victim
Mm.
because it served me,
Desk down.
right? No, seriously.
Mm.
And it served me until it didn't anymore.
And you're tired of your own crap.
And I was tired of my own
Mhm.
stuff. So, yeah,
I think that's how it starts, where or you have somebody call you out on, "Hey, listen to yourself." I think and you're either ready to hear that or you're
right.
not, and you can get started on, what do you call it? Radical accountability.
Yes, exactly.
That's
Because I for me, it was like repeating patterns, you know what I mean?
Oh,
With,
yeah.
like, different people, same stuff, different circumstances,
Mm,
same stuff, because I was the same old me, right? And, I realized, when you're like, maybe I'm the problem, right? And I had that all of this is coming from me because of the stories I'm telling about myself, and so maybe I should start choosing different stories, and that's what kinda woke me up to realize life isn't happening to me and other people aren't victimizing me. They don't wanna do that. They're
mm,
not it's not it's just the perspective that I'm holding, and perception is reality, you know what I mean? And it's always gonna prove you right. So, I realized, um, if I want to break these patterns and have a different experience, I have to do something different, and for me, doing meant thinking differently, and
and some Abraham Hicks says, "Reach for the next best feeling,"
yeah,
and because that sometimes all what you're talking about feels like very daunting, and
yeah,
maybe it's just reaching for that next highest feeling. So if you're feeling like a victim, now you're just going to feel a little bit more empowered. You're going to feel
exactly.
a little bit more grateful, and then you can kind of that's the rung to the ladder.
Yes.
You know what I think's great about this conversation is that we had nothing planned. We said we were just going to chit chat, but really considering it's the beginning of January-ish, that, like, it's sort of like New Year, New Me, but Neville Goddard style. Like,
Yeah,
you already
exactly.
are that person, so there's no
Yep.
such thing as a New Year, New Me. I'm sure you probably already
Oh
talked
my
about
gosh,
that stuff.
and new year, but really it's just new right now. It's another
Mhm.
right now, and humans created time, I think, just to mark experience, but,
Yeah, you and I wouldn't be here right now if we didn't say, "I'll meet you at this time." So
exactly.
it serves its purpose.
However, and I was at an event last night,
Okay.
um, and people were talking about age because one of the other people were like, "It's my 40th birthday tomorrow," and
Oh.
they're like, "Courtney, when do you turn 40?" And I'm like, "I don't have an age." And they're like, "No, really? Like, how many more years? And, like,
Mm.
what year?" And I'm like, "I don't have an age." 10 toes down. I
I
don't
don't
have
have
an age, right? And I have literally experienced aging backwards because
Well, your pictures you have.
oh my god,
Yeah.
like,
Okay, so I'm supposed to
time is
get
not real.
these
You
little
don't have an
puppies
age.
colored, tomorrow, but you know what? I don't have gray hairs anymore. We'll see how that goes.
That's the story I need to start telling.
But then I was like, what if I just start doing the blend, and then
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
accept it, and, so we'll see. Instead of or if I wanna accept that I have gray hairs, maybe I don't wanna accept that I have gray hairs,
Or
so
maybe you just don't have gray
I
hair
just don't have
because you
gray
don't
hair.
age.
Yeah, yeah, I
See,
don't have
and
an
if
age.
telekinesis is possible,
Then I can reverse
there
it.
is no age, there is no time, right? And so the way I think
If I
about
can 10
age,
toes down telekinesis, I can 10 toes down.
seriously, and I think about this all the time, like, the only reason people age is because collectively that's something that we've just bought into.
Mhm,
And everywhere you look, it's like so and so, and we're constantly marking the time. So we're thinking time is
mhm.
passing. So we bought into time passing. Bought into aging, and we bought into all this stuff, and society constantly reminding us
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
we're
yeah.
aging. No, we're not.
Mhm.
No, we're not.
Oh, I love that.
10 toes down.
What is it? Delulu is the Salulu.
Seriously, and even that, I'm like, there is no delusional
Right.
because your perspective in this moment right now
Is real.
is what's creating your experience. And
Yeah.
so you're not being delusional, you're just consciously choosing on purpose because you know you
Ooh,
can.
choosing on purpose. That's a
Yeah.
good one too.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we gotta wrap up. What do you think?
Yay.
This
I
was
know.
awesome.
I love it. And
Yeah.
see, it always goes better when you don't plan it. because then
Yep.
it just flows.
I hope everybody had fun. We should do this again.
We should.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.